So sometime ago, I picked up this shift at the surgery center. Surprise, surprise. Also, real quick, click the link below to go donate to my campaign so that we can see my storytelling podcast, Zyla, turn into a film. All right, back to these stories. So I picked up a shift at this surgery center, right? And honestly, it had been a point in my career where I had picked up so many shifts that it was beginning to feel like you work at one surgery center, you've worked at all of them. I was working in the recovery room. And at surgery centers, even in the hospital, what will happen is you'll either get a heavy patient, meaning they were under full-on anesthesia, they had a whole lot of drugs, the case was very long, and it is likely to take them an extended amount of time to recover, or they had some sort of vascular procedure, so they have to be monitored for an extended amount of time to monitor for bleeding. Those are more complex cases, and sometimes they can take place at a surgery center. The non-complex cases, or not even necessarily just non-complex, but also really light on the drugs, those are called MAC, Monitored Anesthesia Care. Those take little to no time at all. Patients are wide awake when they come out of the OR, and they are ready to go. That being said, I get to the surgery center, I'm introduced, and I get my 30 seconds of orientation. I didn't feel like I needed a whole lot more pieces of information to get the job done for that 8-hour shift, okay? That being said, it is time for me to go out and do my job as a recovery nurse at this surgery center. The first patient starts coming out, it's early in the morning. I was like, I can take this first one, it's no big deal. The charge nurse is like, no, don't worry about it, take the next one. I was like, okay, she probably wants me to eyeball how this other nurse does it, or one of the other nurses, I don't know. The next patient comes out, she's like, no, don't worry about it, don't take this one, I'll let you know when to take a patient. Now understand, these first two patients that came out were GIs. GI in a surgery center typically just means that it was either a colonoscopy or an endoscopy. Again, very easy to recover those kinds of patients. It's typically under MAC, Monitored Anesthesia Care, meaning they didn't go all the way under. They weren't knocked completely out. They didn't have to receive a wealthy amount of drugs to remain comfortable because it wasn't a long or heavy procedure. That makes the patient easy if we're going to categorize them, just for the sake of understanding the story. So that happens for another 3 or 4 more patients where she's like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And all of these patients are MAC. So it dawned on me, I was like, okay, MAC, meaning Monitored Anesthesia Care, light cases. It dawned on me, I was like, okay, she's holding me for a more complex case. If that's the case, whatever, it's fine. I'm here to work, okay? And if I feel like these complex cases are too complex, I'm just never picking up a shift here again. It is what it is. Heavy duty patient does come out. It was an orthopedic case. And the only thing that really does make these orthopedic cases more complex is when it comes time for you to put on some sort of complicated brace. The discharge instructions, every surgeon is different, and the pain management. Sometimes these nerve blocks disrupt your ability to breathe, or it doesn't work. So you're still chasing the pain. You're trusting the nerve block until they wake up in excruciating pain, and you're like, damn, we're about to be chasing this pain for at least the next 45 minutes, because if you don't get pain under control before it gets to its peak, you're doomed. Well, not doomed, you'll just be chasing it for a while. So we finally get this patient recovered and ready to go, discharged after about an hour and 40 minutes, okay? Whatever. Good thing is, they weren't trying to flood me with patients while I had this patient. So it is what it is, fine. Next set of patients that come out, I'm in a better position. Everything's documented, signed off. I've handed off the chart. I can take a patient. She's like, don't worry about it. You'll take the next one. Same thing happens. Another complex case comes out while 3 or 4 more patients prior to that were all MAC and given to the staff. Again, whatever. I'm just thinking they have a system. It is what it is. Except after I receive this next complex case, another complex case comes out right after it. I'm not paying anybody any attention. I'm trying to get this one case settled. And there's no way they're about to give me a complex on top of complex. Except that's exactly what happens. The charge nurse, we're gonna call her Marilyn. Marilyn's like, Ashley, I'll also have you take that one. I said, no, you won't. She was like, I'm sorry? No. I just got this patient. You've got like 2-3 other nurses empty-handed because you've been giving them the MAC cases. They've been getting those patients in and out. They can handle a complex patient. I'm just supposed to be over here inundated? No. And she was like, well, we have a system here, and you know, I don't really want to disrupt it for the sake of your comfort. You are working. Thank you for reminding me that I'm at work, Marilyn. But that doesn't change the fact that the way you're doing things is inappropriate. Then she's like, oh, you're not going to tell me how to do my job. Let's go talk to the manager. Go talk to the manager. Not much is going to change. I'm not taking this patient. The manager comes. She says essentially the same thing. We have a system here. We don't want you to disrupt it. What are you uncomfortable with? Why are you asking me that question, manager? I'm supposed to have these 2 heavy patients with me? It's not making sense. 3 other nurses are empty-handed. Empty. It'd be a different story if I had 2 patients. She had 2 patients. This other one is like it's a busy center and we all just have to figure it out. No, bruh. And y'all are acting like these heavy patients were coming out back to back. This is the first time during the day that this happened. My shift is halfway over. Like, y'all stop acting like you're inundated and you need me to take these 2 patients. No. So she's like, I don't know that I agree with you. I'm gonna need you to take that additional patient. I said, how about someone else take it and I give report on the one that I have, and then you guys can continue doing things the way you do. You can go on with your system without me disrupting it. She's like, I'm sorry, excuse me, that's abandonment. No, I'm telling you to point me to the nurse that I can give report to so that it's not abandonment. I'm giving this nurse, this patient, up to somebody else, and somebody else will take that new patient. Let's go. So then her and the charge nurse convene, they chit chat for a little bit, and I'm just standing there with my arms crossed, and she comes back and she's like, we'll just give the other patient to another nurse. Okay, good. Now who am I giving report to on this patient? I have to continue. Like, I can't fall back now, because if I do that, then they're just gonna try this on somebody else in the future. And this is why I'm always encouraging nurses to advocate for themselves. Like, always advocate. Do not be ran over. I'm not saying jump down everybody's throat every chance that you get, but in a situation where you see that something's not happening appropriately, you need to say something. Because this travel nurse culture and this registry nurse culture where these facilities want to give you the hardest and most complex or complicated situations, it's still inappropriate. And unfortunately, these agencies, they don't support us. So we have to fight for ourselves and advocate for ourselves. So I was like, find me another nurse to give report to. The charge nurse rolls her eyes and she's like, oh, and points me in the direction of another nurse. So I give report, gather my accoutrements, and make my way out. And I knew that I was gonna get a phone call from my agency. I knew it because on the app where you clock in and out, they say, did you get sent home or did you choose to get sent home? And I didn't answer the question. I didn't. I just clocked out. Some apps allow you to proceed without doing that, some apps don't. This particular app allowed me to do it. So maybe about 2-3 hours later, maybe around like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a call. And the facility, or not the facility, the agency was asking for clarification on what took place so that they know how to pay me. If I was sent home, I get paid for the whole shift. If I chose to go home, I only get paid for the hours that I worked. Understood. So I told them I chose to go home, but only because of unfair treatment. And so they asked me to elaborate, and I elaborated, and I just knew that they were gonna side with the facility. But they didn't. They expressed an understanding, and they said that they will pay me for the full 8 hours. Understand though that that doesn't happen often. That's very rare. Like, this particular situation has a happy ending, but it is like, in the past, I've had non-happy endings where they have sided with the facility despite how the situation, it still didn't end up the way I explained it. It was explained well enough for them to understand that this wasn't a decision that I just made on my own free will. So that brings me back to my point. Nurses, everywhere. You pick up a shift, you pick up a contract, you have to advocate for yourself. Again, I'm not encouraging anybody to run into a facility ready to fight, ready to rip somebody's esophagus out. But just understand where to draw the line. Develop your boundaries before you go in there so that you're not taken advantage of. And I feel like that works in any situation. You tell a manager that you're available one Saturday, they're gonna ask you every Saturday for as long as you work there if you're available. No, set your boundaries. Also, click the link below and donate to my campaign. We're getting super close. The number that we're at now is just a hair away from 50%, and just last week we were at 20%. So I just want to express my gratitude. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Hopefully those of you who have received your signed copies of my novel, you're satisfied. Thank you. Hit the like button, the subscribe, the share, and the links below. There's a new episode of Zyla available as well. Thank you guys.